Hello everyone, it's Prajul Pathak this side and watching my YouTube channel pyGuru. Friends, this is the third tutorial in the Dino clone series using Python and pygame. Now, in the previous tutorial, we added the Dino as a player in our game. Moving further, in this video, we are going to add the Cactus and Pterosaurs as enemies in our game. So before that, you need the assets, and the assets download link along with the source code is given in the video description. So there are two folders inside the assets folder, as you can see. Here, the first folder is the Cactus one, and the second folder is this Ptera, okay, which is pterosaurs. So what I want is I want to include these two in our game as enemies. Okay, the objective is we have to dodge these two cactus and pterosaurs in order to gain points and to remain alive. So let's get started. The first thing that we are going to add in our game is the cactus. So again, we will create a class for this. So class cactus. Now, this will be a special kind of object in our game, as it will inherit from an inbuilt Python class, that is pygame.sprite.sprite. Now, in 2D games, a sprite is simply an image. Okay, as you can see, these are images and these are known as sprites. Similarly, sheet consisting of all the sprites of a game is known as sprite sheet. Like, see, this is the original sprite sheet used in the Chrome. Okay, so here I have already stripped these particular sprites, and now we are just going to use them in our game. Now again, this inherits from a special class, that is pygame.sprite.sprite. Now it will inherit all the properties of this particular class. Now what are these properties we will discuss with upcoming in the upcoming coding part. Okay, so again, the first function that any class takes is the init function. So the same we are going to pass here. It will take a simple argument, that is type. Remember, the first argument is always self. The second argument is a argument which is type. Now it will denote which particular cactus we want to generate in our game, like this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, or this one. So basically, we can use any of these, whatever we want. Okay, and we can generate it. So let me just rename these particular sprites so that naming can be easy. Okay, so let me just do it now. So I have renamed all these cactus sprites from numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we can just now use them in a game. So again, see, since it's inheriting from this particular class, we have to initialize this super class. So in Python, you can initialize your super class like this: super, then your class name, that is cactus, then the self variable, and then just pass call the init function like this, init. Okay, that's all. Now here we will create a simple image list, self.imageList, like this. Currently it will be empty. Now we will just append all the images. We will just load all these images and append this to this particular image list. Okay, let's just do it. For I in range 5, since we have 5 images in total, we are just going to run from 0 to 4, and then we will just add one. Okay, I'll create a variable here, scale, and I'll pass 0.65 as its value. Now why it's 0.65? Currently, see, currently its size is 34 by 70 pixels, and this particular sprite size is 50 by 100 pixels. So I want to resize them. Okay, the way we will resize it like this. So first of all, we will just load the image. So img equals pygame.image.load, and then the name of our sprite. It's currently in the assets folder, then cactus folder, then 1.png. So instead of passing 1.png like this, we are just going to pass the I variable here. So let's just pass I plus 1.png here. Now since our images are numbered as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but our loop is running from 0, that's why we are adding 1 to it. Again, this will be a string. Okay, now it's good to go. Now we are just going to get the width and height of our original element. So w,h equals img.getSize. This is a method by which you can get the size, width and height of your image. Now we have just unpacked in two variables, width and height. The next thing that we are going to do is we are just going to resize our image. We can resize it like this: pygame.transform.scale. Here the name of our image, which is img, and here the new width and height. So I will just pass it like this. First of all, width multiplied by scale. So let's say if the original width is 100 pixel, when multiplied by 0.65, it will become 65. Okay. Again, we are just converting it to integer. Otherwise, we will get an error. That's all. Same for we will do the same for height. So into scale. That's all. So we are good to go now. Finally we are just going to append it to our image list. So self dot image list dot append, and here we are just going to pass the imp. That's all. Now again we need to create few variables here. So let me just copy these from here. Here let me just copy these lines. Okay, these are handy because all of the coding is nearly same here also. So self.image, instead of self.index, we will simply pass the type. Suppose if the we get, sorry, just wait a second. Suppose if you get 1 from the main function, we will load the first image. Okay, when we get the value of type as 1, we will load the first image. When we get the value of type 2, we will load this particular image like this. Okay, that's all. So here we are just going to pass type -1 because indexing in list start from 0. That's again self.rect equals self.image.getRect. We have extracted the rectangle of it. Now self.rect.x will be equal to width. That is, we want our cactus to start from the right side of our game window and then start moving toward the left side. If you want, you can add some value to it like +10, +5, +3 like this. That's all. Self.rect will be equal to self.base +5. That's all. Now it's not necessary to add this 5, it's just up to you. Again we are just going to get another method, that is update method, and it will take the argument as speed. Now this argument will define the speed with which our cactus will move towards the left direction. That's all. Now we can just add this speed variable to the x direction or the x position of our cactus like this, and since sorry, we have to subtract from the x position, because we know that if we subtract something to from x position, it will move toward the left, and if we add something to the x position, it will move toward the right. That's all. Again we have to check for this. If self.rect.right is less than equal to 0, we have to just call self.kill. Now what does this line mean? Now again, as I said, this is a special class as it inherits from this particular class, pygame.sprite.sprite. Now see, in our game we will have multiple cactus generating at some point of time. Okay, so we will have multiple cactus. Now in games, if you have multiple things or multiple objects being generated, they will take a lot of memory in your game. So what we do when the work of the object is over, we just destroy them. We do not need them anymore. Same for is our cactus. See, it will start from the right side of our window and it will start moving to the left. And when it goes towards the left or towards the outside of the game window, we do not need it anymore. So we can just destroy the particular cactus as we do not need it anymore. Okay. So this is the same. This is the thing that we are doing here. Here we have written if self.rect.right, that is if the entire cactus is less than 0 pixel, that is toward the left of the window, we can just destroy it. Now self.kill is a special method and it is available whenever you inherit from pygame.sprite.sprite. That's all. Now the final method is draw method. Again, it will take the first argument as self and the second argument as window. Now this window is the place where we want to show our image. So win.lit we have already did in the previous tutorials. So self.image on the self.rect. That's all. So we are good to go in we are good to create objects of our cactus class here. So let me just create cactus. It looks good now. Okay. So let me just show with one object how it looks. Cactus equals cactus, and the only argument that we have to pass is 1. That's all. Now we can just call this particular thing here cactus.update and cactus.draw. Now I'll call it just after the ground. Remember the ordering: ground, then cactus, all the objects. In the last we will call update the dino. That's all. Okay, so cactus.update, let's just pass the same speed as our ground, and cactus.draw, and here we are just going to pass the window. So let me just run this particularly and let's see if it's working or not. We have some error here. Let's see what is this. Cactus object has no attribute run list. So image list, actually it's image list. So where is the issue? Here it will be image list. Okay, we have to load the image from image list. That's all. So let me just try running it once again and let's see if it's working or not. Again we have some error. Cactus object has no attribute base. So we have to create some variable. So instead of creating a variable, I can just pass 165 here because our cell.base is 160. So I'll just add 5 here. Okay, that's all. As we do not need the cell.base variable later in our class, that's why I'm just passing it an integer value. So it looks good. Yes, so it's working good. Now as you can see, if you create a object like this, you can only create one object. So we know that in games we have multiple cactus objects. We will be having multiple cactus objects and we have to dodge them. So one way to keep multiple objects in your game, in pygame, is using a list, Python list. You can just create an object like this and you can just append it to a empty list, okay, and then update the entire list here. Python provides a handy way to do the same thing. That is groups. A group is a special kind of list which stores objects like these. Okay. So let me just create one group here and I'll give it as name as cactus group. You have to create a group like this, pygame.sprite dot group, like this. That's all. So everything looks good. Now we can create as many cactus as we want. So let me just remove the line, and here we will create here. Now see, our one cactus is created. Soon we are running the game. We know that we have to create multiple games, so we have to think of some idea by which we can create these cactuses at particular time. So the one way that I am going to use this in this particular tutorial for the series is the counter method. Okay. In the previous game, if you have seen my previous game, Aero Blaster, there we have used the time. Here we are using a simple variable that will be known as counter variable. Okay, we'll be using that particular variable. So let me just create a variable here, counter equals 0. Now what we will do is we will just keep adding 1 to our counter variable here inside the main loop. So counter plus equals 1. Now we know that it starts from 0. So if we keep adding 1 to it, it will go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 like this. Okay. So what we want, see one more here. Our current FPS is 60. So there are 60 frames in 1 second. So in 1 second, 1 will be added to our counter variable 60 times. Okay. So after 1 second, our counter variable will become 60. That's all. Now here is the thing. I want to generate my cactus every 100 frames. Every 100 frames, I want to create a cactus or an enemy. That's all. So here that's all the thing that I'm going to do. I will create a variable as enemy time. You can create cactus time, and this will keep the integer at which we want to generate the cactus. That's all. So here that is the thing that we are going to write here. If counter mod by enemy time, now enemy time is equal to 100 is equal to 0. We are just going to create a cactus here. So cactus equals cactus. Now we have to pass a type here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a variable type here, and I will create this type randomly. So random.randint, we have a function here. Again, for this you have to import the random module in your game. We have already imported it. So we are just going to use this. So random.random, and here you have to pass two variables. Here I have passed 1 and 5. Now it will give me a random number between 1 and 5, and we will pass this type variable here. That's all. Now we'll add this cactus to our cactus group. Like if you want to append it to a list, you have to append like your list dot append. The same thing we're doing here. So cactus group dot add cactus. That's all. Cactus. Now everything looks good. Again, if you are creating a group, you can update the entire group like this. Cactus. All that you have to do is you have to write it like this. Your group name dot update and group name dot draw. That's all. So let it sorry for the interruption, it's actually Diwali here, that's why there are lots of crackers. Okay, so here we can update the entire group just like this. Cactus your group name dot update and group name dot draw. That's all. Okay, so now let's just try it and see if it's working or not. Now the good thing with these groups and the module that we have inherited is, yes, so it's working good. We can jump. Yes, we are getting things like this. Everything looks good. We can dodge it. Okay, so everything looks good. Now we have another enemy that we want to create. That is a bird. Okay, we have to add this bird to our game too. Try adding this bird to our game too. For this again, we are just going to create another class, and let me just copy this all these lines. So we can just copy it like this. We are just going to change our group name Ptera. This is Ptera. Now Ptera is a pterosaurus is a special kind of dinosaur which can fly in reality. Okay, which could in the past. Sorry. Okay. Again, we have an empty list here that is equal to, you can change your name, empty list name, it's up to you. Okay, so we'll just keep it like this, cell.imageList. We will start from looping from 1 to 3, or loop it like this, 1 to 3. Okay, scale, we need it, I think not. Okay, so we are just going to use it like this. Okay, let's just use the scale variable here again. Again, here we do not need to add 1 to it. If you want, you can add, but for that we have to use run the loop from 2 till 2. Okay, then we can use I+1 like this. Since we have only 2 images as our Ptera in Ptera folder, so 1, 2. So we have to cycle between these 2 images. Again, we have to change our folder name. So let's just make it Ptera. That's all. And the rest of the things will be same. Image list dot append. Here we have to create another variable, that is self.index. Now we do not need a type argument here because we don't have anything to do with it. The type, because we have only one type of bird. Instead, it will take an argument, that is the x and y position, initial x and y position of our bird. That's it. Now here we have to pass self.index. And I'm just going to remove these 2 lines, and here I'm just going to pass our self dot. We are just going to pass like this. So here I want to pass center equals x comma y. Now what does this mean? Currently we were setting our cactus at this particular position. We were setting our x position of the cactus towards the right end of the window, which is width plus 10, and we were setting its bottom as this. Now here we are taking 2 arguments. Now the center of our bird, if I just open this image in my image viewer, let's see if this is the center where currently my cursor pointer is. If this is the center, we will make this center at this particular x and y position, whatever the value passes from the main function. That's all. So I hope you understood it. There's not much of a difference. You can just set its position like this too if you want. Self.x equals x and self.x.bottom equals y. It's up to you. But since I have already coded it, so you have to pass the value of x and y accordingly if you are just changing this, if you are using this particular thing. Okay, so because it will just shift your Dino towards either downward or upward. That's all. Now what we are going to do is we are just going to copy this particular line. Just copy this particular line, this one, paste it inside our update function. Since we have 2 images and we have to cycle between those 2 images, so self.counter plus equals 1, and let me just edit it, and we have to just change our list name, that is image list. Sorry, image list. Finally, we have to just reset our counter to 0. Self.counter equals 0. That's all. Now everything looks good, and we can inherit or use this in our game. So again, for this, I will create another group, that is Ptera group. Give it as any name, whatever you want. So give it as Ptera, like this. Okay. Now the way we generate it in our game is will be something like this. It will be generated at the same time, like every 100 FPS. We would either generate a cactus or a Ptera bird or a bird. Okay, so we can think of some way by which we can do this. So the way I think of is like this. So random.randint 1,10. We will generate a random number between 1 to 10, and if it is equal to 5, we will create a Ptera bird. Okay, so we can just create a Ptera bird like this. Ptera equals, again we have to edit it, first import it in order to use it. So let's just import. So Ptera equals Ptera. This pygame is a class, remember, okay? And then you have to pass to position width and y position. Now y position I want to generate it like this randomly again. So random dot choice. Again this is another method to generate a random number between a list from a list. So I have two values in a list, that is 85 or 130. I want to generate a random number between 85 or 130. Only two values, okay, only two possible, 85 or 130. So we will choose a random value between these two values and then we will pass it as by here. Finally we just have to add it to our Ptera group. So let me just copy this particular line and change it and just add it here, okay, update it here. Ptera. Okay, in the else part we will generate a cactus, that's all. So let's just try to run this game, but before that we have to update it. So let me just update it here like this. After the cactus group or before the cactus group, you can just update your Ptera group, Ptera. So let's just write it Ptera, okay. And here you have to pass the speed. Now speed, it's up to you. I will pass equals speed initially as 4. As our initial speed is 5, I am passing it as 4. That's all, okay. Now let's try running this. This way there's a very little chance that we will get a Ptera or a bird, but let's try. And if it's not, we will I will show you another way, okay. So yes, we are getting the cactuses, looking, everything looks good, okay, everything looks good, but getting a chance of Ptera like this is very rare. What I'm going to do is I'm currently just going to create a condition which will always be true. 5 equals 5, it is always true. So this time on we will only get Pteras, okay. So I can show you like this. Okay, we have some error. Ptera object has no attribute counter. We have to create another attribute here inside init function and initialize it equal to with 0. That's all. Now let's try running it once again and let's see if it works or not. Serve.counter. Yes, so it looks good. Now we can jump upon it. Looks good. We can jump upon it. Looks good. So everything looks good, okay. So let me just change it back to the condition where it was. Yes. So yes, this is it for this video, guys. In this particular video we created two type of enemies in our game, a cactus and a Ptera, okay. And then we thought of a random way by which we can generate our enemies. So in the next tutorial of this series we will try to implement the collision detection between a player and these birds and cactus, okay. So yes, this is it for this video, guys. If you love this video, leave a like or dislike. If you are new to my channel, subscribe it. Thank you. See you in the next video.